Greetings! I'm Troy Newham, the author of 2084, The Search for Love, Hope, and Faith, available on Amazon.com in paperback and in Kindle version. The Kindle version is only $1, and if you're a member of Amazon Prime, you can read it for free. I highly recommend it, and please recommend it to your friends, as word of mouth is very important to me. I maintain a blog at swampfoxpress.com, and I hope you check it out. It has a very libertarian bent to it, and I think you'll enjoy the topics. Today's message from Moses is going to be about the horrible crime in Aurora, Colorado. And basically what we have is one lunatic who busted into a theater and killed a whole bunch of people. And immediately, two things happened. The news media went online and went to Google and typed in the guy's name and hit search and found a guy with the same name who's 30 years older, who's a member of the Tea Party, and of course reported that the Tea Party already gone crazy and shot all these people up. The other thing is then you have Pierce Morgan over there saying, well, you need to have tighter gun controls and that would solve this problem. And I want to advise everyone against any knee-jerk reactions to this crime. Now, the majority of all guns in America will not be used in a crime. They are held by law-abiding citizens. 2, the grand bulk of all extended magazines also will never be used in a crime. Okay? What you get in trouble is when you have these moments of trouble and despair, and you pass stupid laws that take away your freedom because you have this knee-jerk reaction. The same thing happened after 9/11. I remember that I was actually for the Patriot Act at the time, which was retarded, and I hate to admit it. But once you lost that freedom, they ain't giving it back, not easily. And to all those people on the left who criticized George Bush and the end of freedom of speech and the end of the Fourth Amendment and how terrible it was, do you realize that in the first 2 years of Barack's reign, he had all the House, all the Senate, and the Patriot Act came up for renewal, basically. They could have let it expire. They wouldn't have even had to repeal it. And what did they do? They renewed it. And these are the same people who talked about how god-awful it was and what a police state we're in. And that's not a pro-right, pro-left. All this is saying is once you give up your freedom, neither side is going to want to give it back. Because when you have freedom, that takes power out of their hands. So be very, very careful when they try to use this or Gabby Giffords to take away one of your rights, which is the right to keep and bear arms. And if you can't tell, I'm very much for it because there's a picture of a gun right here. And that's a very important right. And if you read the Founding Fathers' works, if you read the Federalist Papers, the Second Amendment isn't about hunting and fishing. Well, if you fish with a gun, that's kind of silly, but it's not about hunting. And to a very large extent, it's not about self-defense. It's about defending our rights against the government run amok. And everyone says, oh, well, what's a 9mm going to do against tanks? Well, that's a valid argument, except for the fact that, as they point out in the Federalist Papers, you know, the amount of the population that's in the Army is very small compared to the bulk of the citizenry. And you know, it's just a way for us to keep our rights and keep ourselves protected. And I don't want to see it go the way of the dodo. Next, I want to talk about his affiliation. This was not the act of an insane man. It could be, but usually speaking, when you've really gone psychotic and snap, you just grab the gun and start shooting people left and right. This guy planned it out. He took all the time to booby-trap his apartment. So the question then becomes is why did he do this? And of course, the the media has already immediately gone to the right, because in their point of view, it has to be someone on the right. Another Timothy McVeigh, their one shining example they have out there. But I don't believe this is going to be the case. I believe that when they drill down and they start looking at this guy, we're going to find out that he's an anarchist. Because what purpose was there in doing this except to spread chaos and pain and misery? And that's the hallmark of an anarchist. You know, and there were reports from some of the victims who even said that the man announced, "I am the Joker," relating to the second Batman movie, and of course Heath Ledger's final role, which was very well played. You know, the Joker was all about creating chaos and anarchy and bringing down society. And I have a feeling we're going to see that he was an anarchist. If he was a member of any group, it's probably going to be Occupy Wall Street. I'm going to put my money on that. I believe he's probably read the Communist Manifesto, because when you read it, it says, by any means necessary. And honestly, in the Communist Manifesto, it basically says, yeah, we're going to have to kill some people, but it's what must be done, and history requires it of us, so let's gear up and kill some people. And, you know, knee-jerk reaction, that's what I think we're going to see once this all played out. Now, the real question is why this happened. It's not guns. It's not extended magazines. You could hand me a minigun right now. You could give me an M16 with a full clip in a room full of crowded people, and they have nothing to worry about. I'm not going to do anything. Why? Because I'm a moral person. I don't want to hurt someone that I don't have to. I value life. So, if we are seeing a rise in these types of crimes, you know, mass murders and whatnot, the question is, why? Because guns have existed, explosives have existed, but people generally didn't strap bombs to their chests back in the colonial days and blow up buildings. So, why now? And I believe that the question is answered when you look at our popular culture somewhat, which desensitizes us to violence. And more than that, I think it's a breakdown of our moral fiber as a whole. And I always think that these issues come down to a breakdown of the American family. And you don't have, you know, people teaching their kids the way they should be taught and keeping them in line. You know, you look at the amount of trouble that our kids get in today, and drugs and everything else. You know, you could, you know, lay out lines of coke, crack pipes, everything else before me right now and say, you can do whatever you want. And I'll walk away. I won't touch it. So, why are some people choosing to go after these? Why are some people doing things they know to be wrong and evil? And I don't have a good reason, and I don't think we'll ever know. But there is definitely something different now than what it was. And I have a feeling that if you look at parenting from the 1950s to today, and the deterioration of the authority that came with the family, and, you know, how parents used to punish their kids, I guarantee you're going to see that parents are a lot more lax today. If, you know, broken homes, abusive families, families who the parents are actually the ones addicted to drugs and things. And you're going to see that there's a lot more of that today. And that's where I believe this is all coming from. So, as a libertarian, I believe that what we need to do is keep our freedoms and try to work on the underlying problem. Try to solve this illness that's within our souls lately, that's eroding our moral fiber. And that's where we need to go. You know, as I said, we need to find Love, Hope, and Faith, which I believe are cornerstones of a moral society. Anyway, I hope that you'll check out my book. Again, it's 28-4, The Search for Love, Hope, and Faith. And it basically details a breakdown of the modern family completely. Towards the end, the state actually raises you from birth to death, and you don't have parents, you're born in test tubes. And if you look back, there's a historical precedence in this in communist Russia, where they basically put babies into these huge, quote-unquote, baby farms, and they had a nanny that was just in there changing diapers all day long. And it turned out horrible. It was a horrible experiment. But, you know, the further we get away from the family, the worse our society is going to become. And I also highly recommend War Journals, my other books, my first novel, and it's got a special place in my heart. There are a few passages in it when I read it, it makes me tear up. I really hope that you'll read these books, and if you like them, recommend them to your friends, like me on Facebook, that sort of thing. Again, check out my blog at swampfoxpress.com. I try to blog once a day, and on Fridays I tend to do entertainment, but throughout the rest of the week it's stuff about human nature and current events. Anyway, long live the Constitution. Signing off.